Yo, 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 what's happening, my folk, my kinfolk, my brother, my sister? It is your boy, Dayvito. We are back for part 2 of Church Hurt. We are Dead Religion, and I got some friends with me. When you ask him how he been, he says, I've been yay. It's your boy, Jerome Colbert. Say what's up to the people, man.
What's going on, good people? We're back again to share some more love in your life, man. We're just kicking off this nicely episode about church hurt, and it's been pretty amazing so far.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know that I had to get my brother from another, all the way from Florida. When he puts belts on, they're made of gator skin only. You already know who it is. Say what's up to the people, Anthony Munoz.
Get her done! We're back, man, and I can't wait to share this next episode with you guys. Hopefully, there's somebody out there that can relate to our stories, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So leave a drop, a comment, a like, or something. Hit us up.
Yeah, share your feedback with us, man. You can always do that on the website, www.deadreligion.com. And this episode is sponsored by none other than Vision of Alignment. What is Vision of Alignment, brother?
Vision of Alignment is an everyday modern apparel scripted through faith. So these designs that you see that we present to you, we want those to be conversations, walking billboards, and just peace offerings to the world through us.
That's right, man. So look, let's get into it, man. We've been talking about church hurt. Last week we shared our church hurt stories. This week we're talking about how did church hurt affect you?
It definitely kept me guarded. I was skeptical about, opening up to certain people. And so the hurt made me question, even God, and like, man, if God is, also loving and this, and he tells us to come with open arms, he accepts us with open arms and all this, but then you go to where God's people are, to the church, and they're rejecting you and they're turning you away, and then they're judging you because you open up about a certain particular event that happened in your life and you just didn't know how to deal with it, or whatever the case was. It left me very guarded, very I didn't want anything to do with the church after so many times. It's just like, man, I'm going back to the same thing, and like every time I'm expecting something different, but I get the same result, and it's like, is this how God would treat me if I came to him and he was literally sitting at the house of God? Is this how God would treat me? Would he shun me away like this? Would he judge me? Would he tell me, oh, you're not worthy? Or you the way you dress, or the way you act, the way you talk, the way you look, and this and that. And I think that affects a lot of people, really, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people are affected in the same way, and they're very cautious about going back to church or going and opening up to people like that. And it will change, if you allow it, it could change your whole perspective on God and, and church and everything. That's what it did for me.
So what you're saying is, instead of, if God is for me, who can be against me? You were like, how can God be for me if the church is against me?
Church is against me. If the church is the representation of God and his people, and what God is supposed to be in us, man, let me tell you, there was places I went, I wanted no part of, and it's like, there's no way this is the way God is.
You dusted your sandals off.
Exactly.
And never went back.
Never. And so it was definitely a learning curve. There was many years that went by that I literally even doubted God's existence because of it, and it affected me to that point where I became reckless and became, just rebellious, and I didn't want anything to do with God, the people from church, and none of that. And it wasn't until, a few years ago that I had my moment where I realized, okay, it's different. I understand God differently now. Let me go to his word, and when I read the word, I understand it better than when I did at a young mindset.
That's good, man. You got that revelation, man. That's awesome. What's up? What's up, man? I know you said you didn't necessarily have a church hurt story.
Yeah.
But how has church hurt affected you in that regard?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to what Anthony said. So for me, it was during my college years. So it pulled me away from a true church home for a long time. And I say that because, I mean, I grew up in a black church, Latino churches, there's white churches. I started seeing, or I did see, where the church was primarily having tunnel vision. Again, like you had to be a certain way, and if you weren't that certain way, the conversation started having conversations about you've changed and this and that happened. But I let it affect me in a positive way to reach bigger. And what I mean when I say that is I started exploring other churches, started going to Catholic churches, all different churches, just to really like find where I fit or find where felt comfortable for me. So it accelerated me on a place to elevate and find somewhere where I knew that it was more God-driven versus them having a set rules that you really had to follow. And during the exploration, I started discovering a lot about myself and what kind of person that I wanted to be, because again, like I was in college, so I was doing some reckless things as well. Not having a true church home was some of that gap that was created during that time. But the exploration of these different churches really expanded the type of mindset that I wanted to create for myself and the type of life that I wanted to live. And I knew when I was in that place, and I knew the change that already had happened to me before I got to that place. So
you took the tools of negativity and paved the road with it.
I did.
A road towards your destiny.
Motivation.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so dope, man.
That's cool.
I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
I wish I would have done that too, you know, like that definitely, you know, things would have probably played out
There's no
differently.
correct science to it.
Right, man. We got to write a book, man. You know what I'm saying? Let other people know, man, how to take the tools of negativity and turn them into roads, man. Roads to greatness.
Well,
man.
you know,
That's awesome, man.
I exude positivity, man. So I got to find the positive in everything I do.
I love that, man.
And I didn't know that at an early age, but that's what I've been doing my whole life.
Come on, man.
So,
It's crazy how you learn that though, like as you get older and, you know, life, you know, you go through life. Everybody's got to go through it. So, you know, and it's going to be, if you don't learn from it, you're going to have,
you talked about it.
Tough.
You start seeing what your 1% is in that maturation phase. So
Absolutely.
it's special, bro.
Well,
It's
thank you
special.
for bringing your 1%, man.
We all bring our 1%, baby.
Loving
That's
that,
what we
man.
do.
I'm loving that.
We all do.
You know, so like I shared with y'all last week, you know, my church hurt story, but there was a lot of church hurt that I've experienced. You know, unfortunately, you know, I can't say that I grew up with people who set the example the right way. And that's not just from my family or you know, my parents, but even in leadership, you know, in churches, pastors and stuff like that, man. I think I've seen the worst of it. And who knows, right? Like maybe somebody in the audience, right? Maybe they've seen it worse than I have, but there were 3 things that church hurt affected me on. And the first one was that it gave me a desire to always be perfect. Perfectionism became my ultimate goal for success.
Yeah.
I had to be perfect. And what's horrible about church hurt is that where life in the world will give you 3 strikes, you're out. In the church, for me, it was 1 strike, you're out. I had to be flawless. I could not make a mistake. Making mistakes was not okay. Like there were dire, eternal consequences for making any type of mistake. And that's like mistakes that, you know, that we struggle with every single day.
Right.
Every human being struggles with. But if I did it, I was condemned. It also, and I talked about this on, you know, the previous episode, you know, about having control issues. I feel like I had to not just control other people's behaviors, but I had to control outcomes. If the outcome didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, then it was an indicator of who I was as a person, and I was a failure. If people didn't behave a certain way, not only would I get super offended, but I would react in the worst of ways possible. I mean, the worst would literally be displayed anytime that somebody wasn't doing what I wanted them to do or what I expected them to do. But it also made me extremely, extremely critical of myself and critical of others. Oh, well, if that person's doing that, then that person's going to hell. I would condemn people for doing the same things that I would. Like I was literally judging people for what they were doing publicly that I was dealing with privately. And and really developing real judgments about them and refusing to engage or even thinking that I was better than they were, simply because, well, at least nobody knows what I'm going through. Like, nobody can see, I'm not displaying that out loud, but I understood very quickly and very easily that there were problems that I was having, but I just didn't want to throw stones at a glass house,
right,
although I was still throwing stones. Right. The other thing is, that's when I really got acquainted with legalism. And a lot of Christians talk a lot about legalistic Christianity. And for those of you who don't know what legalism is, or legalistic Christianity, it's when you put the law above the gospel. It's the Pharisaic way of treating people. And the Pharisaic gospel, the Sadducee way of being able to show people not the love of God, but the law of God. And it was all about good works and obedience, that if I did enough works, it would merit my salvation. I could earn it by doing things, and by the more things that I do, then the closer I am to salvation. Honestly, it was straight up, God's love was performance based. I had to perform in order to gain God's love, in order to gain favor, in order to have blessings. I can't tell you how many times people would tell me, hey, you're doing that, you're going to ruin your blessing that God has for you. And although that's true to a certain extent, right? Like, God does have blessings for people who obey. Like, to threaten someone by saying that you're going to lose your blessing by making, again, honest mistakes, that really affected me and made me very critical of myself, and made me very critical of others. And it was one of those things that I felt like I was always having to perform. It was always a stage, like, lights, camera, action, what I'm saying? Let's do this, But I think the most significant effect that it had in my life was what you said. I rebelled. I mean, it was 100% rebellion. And that rebellion took me down the absolute darkest road and the darkest path that I've ever been on in my life. That was where my drug and sexual addiction really gave birth to that, was in that rebellion. The world will accept you when the church will reject you. And so here I am, finding all of these friends and finding this community and this tribe of people who just wanted the same thing that we were all lacking, which was love. And so we would try to fill that void of loveless relationships or transactional relationships by filling ourselves with drugs, with alcohol. That's when I OD'd, 18 years old, overdosed on meth. Like, that was the worst part of it. And what I didn't realize was that this community of people that I was with was just a bunch of hurt people. And so then I'd get hurt by hurt people. So in the church, you have a bunch of people who are hurt, and therefore they hurt people, because hurt people hurt people. But now I'm out in the world where I think I'm loved, and there's some sort of significance of hope because I'm finding friends who want to be around me and want to do life with me, but then in turn, they're also hurting me as well. So I'm hurt in the world, but I'm also hurt in the church. And I have no way of being able to heal from that. And I mean, when you're in that type of a lifestyle and you're in that whirlwind of just chaos and confusion and deception, you're going to do anything and everything you can to fill the void. Anything of trying to fill the void of not having God in your life.
Right.
Absolutely.
And those were the biggest results of, having that church hurt, since I was a kid. I was always the black sheep. I was always the ugly duckling, always. You know what I'm saying? Even the circumstances of my birth, there was this tag on me that I always felt like I was destined to lose, or that I was just a mistake in life. You know what I'm saying? And so I carried that my whole life, because it seemed like in the church it was always highlighted that I was different, or that I was wrong, or something like that.
And that's a good point that you make, that you said, like, hurt people, right? And the reason why is because there's a lack in some sort of area in their life. To me, I honestly believe that what humans desire more than anything is to love and to be loved. That is every person's greatest desire. You want to feel like you have a place, like you belong, wherever it is, at your home, at church, at work, at an event, whatever. You want to feel like this is where I belong. And people that are hurt, they will do everything in their power to make you feel like you're not. Like, hey, you're not, you don't deserve it. Like, you don't deserve love because you got a tattoo. And it's like, what? You know, they want you to feel what they feel, and what they don't realize is that they're lacking the love. Somebody's not loving them, or somebody that's in their life is not loving them the way they understand love, right? So love is, it all boils down back to love. Do you love yourself? Do you love your neighbor as you love yourself? You know what I'm saying? So, and love is the one thing that the Bible always talks about. You can get greatness out of anybody by showing love to that person. Like true love. Like, yo, man, no matter what you do, no matter what you going through, whatever, blah, 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 I want you to know that you're loved, you're accepted by me, by God, by the members of this church, and by the people that we surround ourselves with, you know. But it is a real love that you can fall, you know, and hey, listen, I'm going to be your brother and I'm going to pick you up, you know, and I want you never to forget that no matter what you do, I got you and I love you, and God loves you the same exact way. And it does something to people. It's really transformational. Like, that feeling of, man, I'm accepted here. Like, people really love me here, and they want to do the same. They want to return the favor. They want to return that love to you. And people who are hurt only want to give you the same thing that they're feeling inside.
Man, this is such a good segue, man. We're gonna, you know, when you love people, even when the worst has been displayed, that is how you personify God into this earth. And so, guys, you do not want to miss our episode next week. We talked about how church hurt has affected us. Now we're going to talk about next week how church hurt has affected our relationship with God. Guys, it's been an honor, a pleasure. We absolutely love being able to share our hearts, to share our thoughts and minds with you. Stay tuned for the next episode. I promise you, you do not want to miss it. You already know who it is. It's your boy, Dayvito. That's Jerome. And that's our special guest, Anthony Munoz. And we are out.